Going live with the WMMA scene report. Going live in just a minute. Soon as I get some people in. Waiting on some viewers. Going live. Gonna take a minute or so. I'm still working on some things myself, so as soon as I get some viewers in, then I will go live officially. Maybe people are busy tonight. Might have to start anyway. And we're going to start anyway. So, all right. Welcome back to WMMA Now with your host, Chuck Stevenson. Welcome to episode number 103 of the WMMA Report, our semi-regular show, going over everything going on within the world of the women's divisions of mixed martial arts. Tonight, we got a couple of topics to talk about. Invicta FC 44 is a pay-per-view worthy. And then Amanda Nunes versus Juliana Pena is off due to, well, you can probably guess why if you don't know already. And then One Empower is back on. It's going to be on September 3rd. But first, let's start where we always start this show with the weekend review. So we're going back to this past Saturday to Octagon 26 in the Czech Republic. First up at strawweight, Magdalena Sermova defeated Kiara Penko via, man, Topology still hasn't updated it, by first round rear naked choke, if I remember correctly. Sermova climbed to 11-3. Penko fell to 5-3. Nice, very dominant first round finish there for Kiara Penko. Magdalena Sermova. And then at flyweight, Teresa Bleda defeated Edna Oliveira via, I believe, first round submission again. Bleda climbed to 4-0. Oliveira fell to 10-8-1. Teresa Bleda is definitely a legit prospect to watch. Keep an eye out on her. She's probably going to have to, leave the Czech Republic and start looking for competition in more international promotions. Then at 135 at bantamweight, Lucia Sabova defeated Cornelia Holm via decision. This was a good back and forth fight, but as it wore on more, Lucia Sabova just really started to take over. And I'll tell you what, this is a fun fight to watch too. They had a full crowd in attendance, and the crowd was just cheering on for Sabova. Sabova. It was really fun to watch. And then also at bantamweight, Talita Bernardo defeated Lucia Pudilova in a battle of UFC veterans via unanimous decision. Bernardo climbed to 7-4. Pudilova fell to 11-7. Just bad game plan by Lucia Pudilova. She just was not prepared for the takedowns of Bernardo, and Bernardo just had a very, very heavy top game that Pudilova was just unable to get out from under. And every round she got taken down, and it was one takedown was all that Bernardo needed. So unfortunate for Pudilova in front of her home crowd there. First time she's lost in Octagon. But that's the way it goes sometimes. And Saturday night, we had 3 ladies bouts. First up, Diana Belbita defeated Hannah Goldie via unanimous decision. Belbita climbed to 14-6. Goldie fell to 5-2. Belbita just got the better of Goldie overall. There was one moment I remember where Belbita was really in trouble because Goldie had a mount, but that was it. I mean, just the striking and the volume, and Belbita looked really good as a strawweight, whereas Goldie came in just like super hulked up, and it didn't do anything for her. Like there's show muscles, and then there's functional muscles. Goldie's muscles just look to be for show on Saturday night. Then at flyweight, Sajara Eubanks defeated Elise Reed via TKO in the first round. Eubanks climbed to 7-6. Reed lost for the first time as a pro, falling to 4-1. This was a mismatch from the start. I mean, I didn't blame Elise Reed for taking it because now she's in the UFC. But man, she got beat up pretty bad. I mean, it was just absolute mismatch, which Yeah, I said it was a mismatch from the start. So, and then on the main card, Macy Barber defeated Miranda Maverick in a flyweight bout via very controversial split decision. Barber climbed to 9-2. Maverick fell to 9-3. And I already went over this Sunday, so I'm not going to. I don't really have anything else to say about it. Good evening, Judy V. Then on late Saturday night, early Sunday night, War Dog Cage Fight 31 took place in Japan. Main event was an atomweight bout where Kotomi Shintani on the right-hand side there defeated Erika Sasaki via TKO due to ground and pound, 4 minutes, 36 seconds of the third round. Shintani climbed to 1-0. And Sasaki fell to 5-3. I haven't been able to find this fight yet. Hopefully War Dog will upload it sometime soon. But it went to the third round. So what's up, Leon? And what's up, the brother man? Ain't seen you in a while. And then on Sunday, Shudo 2021, volume number 5 took place at Korakuen Hall in Tokyo. Had a number 1 contenders bout in their 110-pound super atomweight division. Satomi Takano, a.k.a. Sarami, defeated Miku Nakamura via TKO due to ground and pound, 2:48 of round number 2. Takano climbed to 15-12. Nakamura fell to 4-5. Haven't been able to watch this one yet, but Satomi Takano, well experienced, now the number 1 contender for the belt held by Mina Kurobi. So I believe that is it for the weekend. Oh, no. This morning, One Championship Battleground took place. And had 2 bouts in their atomweight 115-pound division. First up, Victoria Lee defeated Wan Luping via submission due to armbar. 3 minutes, 22 seconds of the first round. Lee climbed to 2-0. Wan fell to 3-3. This matchup ended up being, if you happen to see the video I did announcing this fight, this is exactly what I expected it to be. Wan Luping looked good on paper, but not in reality. I mean, just not in reality at all. This was an easier fight for Lee than Sunisa Sreesan was. So, I mean, Wan had a decent record on paper, but when you put it into context, it wasn't very good at all, and it just showed. And that's no discredit to Victoria Lee. She's going in there and she's doing what she's supposed to do. But One Championship, way overhyping this girl right now. And they're giving her like super cherry-picked opponents who look good on paper but don't in the ring. Then in the same division, Ritu Phogat bounced back from her first loss by defeating Lin Hei-jin via unanimous decision. Phogat climbed to 5-1. Lin fell to 14-3 and snapped like a really long win streak too. But this was Lin Hei-jin's first fight since March of 2019, and there was definitely some ring rust going in there. Lin did a good job of stopping the takedowns in the first round, but couldn't stop it in the second and third. But I think had the ring rust not been in there, it would have been a lot tougher fight for Phogat. So we'll see. But Ritu Phogat, I think her getting eliminated from the Grand Prix was a godsend because she is just way too one-dimensional. Honestly, she reminds me a lot of Alicia Zapatella. If she can't get a takedown, then she just resorts to big, overhand punches. So, I mean, we'll have to see how she does. But Lin Hei-jin was her best win to date, but it also has an asterisk next to it. So that is it for the weekend review. So not a whole lot of news yet, so we can spend more time talking about each individual thing there. But first up, Ryzen 30 goes down September 19th, and they added a super atomweight bout, Ayaka Hamasaki in a non-title bout, taking on Emi Fujino. This one, I think it'll be more entertaining than a lot of people that I've seen expressed so far think it will be. I mean, Fujino isn't like a great fighter, but she is a well-traveled veteran, been fighting for years. They fought like 8 years ago, and took Fujino took Kamasaki to a decision. So we'll see how it goes this time. It's a battle of like older fighters, though. I mean, I think Kamasaki's like 38, 39. Fujino's 40. So should be an all right one. Then UFC has an event planned for October 23rd. They added 2 bouts. First up, a strawweight bout between Livia Souza and Randa Marcos. I gotta be honest, this one is do or die for each of these fighters. I mean, Souza really can't afford to lose another one, and Marcos, I think, is on like 4 straight losses. Man, she's got her, her back's up against a wall, is all Randa Marcos. So, and then just today, they added a bantamweight bout, Jessica Rose Clark taking on Jocelyn Edwards. That should be a fun one too, but not as much at stake for either of them as there is for Souza and Marcos. Then Bellator 264 goes down August 13th. They added a featherweight bout. The newly signed now former Invicta featherweight champ Pam Sorensen will be taking on Roberta Samad. Both ladies will be making their Bellator debut. Hey, winner gets a spot in the top 10 in the Bellator featherweight rankings. So we'll see. I think Roberta Samad lost weight last time out, whereas Pam hasn't fought in, I think, almost 2 years. So we'll have to see. And then, if you haven't heard yet, this is some unfortunate news. Tatiana Suarez is out of her flyweight bout with Roxanne Modafferi at UFC 266. Suarez detailed this on, I believe, an Instagram live session or maybe on Twitter or something. But apparently she had a pretty bad knee injury that's going to require surgery. This girl's body just does not want to stay together, it seems like, unfortunately for her. And you hate to say it, but, we know she had her trouble with cancer a while back. This could be complications from that. She may have beaten cancer, but that doesn't mean that cancer, left her body unscathed, because she just seems very injury prone. So it's already been 2 years since we last saw her fight. Probably going to be another 6 months to a year at this point. It just sucks because she had so much potential at strawweight. Had a lot of potential coming in at flyweight too, being one of the few legit grapplers that was going to be in that division. I thought it was going to be a good scrap between her and Roxanne Modafferi, but unfortunately for Suarez, her body just can't keep it together. I mean, it sucks. Leon says, Roberta Samad fought in Bellator once against Julia Budd. Right, and I think, didn't she miss weight over that? I can't remember. Pretty sure she did. Then what else? Oh, so an event called High League is going down on August 21st in Poland. And they have an MMA bout between former WBO boxing champion Ava Braniczka. She's taking on Anila Little Masti Bogus. So Little Masti is 2-0 in MMA, but she's mostly been fighting like these celebrity style fights, like a Logan Paul style MMA thing. Like she made her debut for Fame MMA, which is basically like a bunch of reality stars fighting each other. But I'll tell you what, she's taking a big step up here. I have no idea what type of MMA training Ava Braniczka has been doing, but she has a legit boxing record. She's 20-1. The only loss is when she lost her title to the current WBO champion, Michaela Mayer. And honestly, I think Braniczka, if she were to dedicate herself to MMA, I'm not going to say she's going to be like a champion or anything, but I think her boxing style would fit MMA very well. She's very clinch heavy, likes to hold her opponents a lot. And I think that would really translate fairly well to, MMA. But, She's 20-1 in boxing, but she's like 36 years old. Let me see if I can find it. Eva Brodnichka is 37 years old. She's taking on Anila Bogus. I have no idea how old Little Masti is, but this is at around open weight, probably around 140 pounds. I know like Brodnichka fights in boxing at 130, I believe. So we'll have to see. But I'm very excited to see another high-level boxer making a transition to MMA, even if it's just for like a throwaway, one-off, fight. The Brother Man, thank you for the super chat. Have you been watching Tokyo Olympics? A potential judo female athlete who will transition to WMMA. You think Japanese female signed to the UFC in bantamweight? So I haven't been watching it too much. I plan to go through and watch them all at once, or at least a bunch of fights at once. Looks like a lot of good judo potentials. Apparently, a lot of the female wrestlers on Team USA, at least several of them, also are planning a transition to MMA. With judo, I mean, we'll have to see. A lot of judoka, it's rare for like a legit high-level judoka to make their way to MMA. It really is. I mean, at least for the ones that are like high-level competitively, like Olympic caliber, world championship caliber. But I mean, I'd be very excited because I saw one girl, she took on a Japanese girl. She took on like a Ukrainian girl that looked like 2 weight classes above her and just demolished her. So, but looking forward to seeing if any Olympians from this Olympics make the transition, but particularly in judo and wrestling. Boxing, they'll most likely go straight into boxing as a pro, if they go pro at all. I think Ashley Yoder will be let go if she gets the L. So we're going to talk about that in a second here. And then Cheyenne Bay's Gloria DePaula. So, yeah, we'll get to that after the news here. Let's see. So UFC has a fight night scheduled for October 16th, and they booked a featherweight bout between Holly Holm, moving back up to featherweight for the 4th time as a pro MMA fighter. She's taking on Norma Dumont. I think Holly's thinking ahead here. Holly and her team, they're thinking ahead. Get a win over Norma Dumont, just beat Felicia Spencer. Get a win over Dumont, put you like basically right there in the front of the line for the featherweight title shot. So Holly and her team, they're not dummies. They've been around fight sports for a long time, and they know how to recognize an opportunity when they see it. Then UFC has an event scheduled for October 2nd. They rebooked the bantamweight bout between Aspen Ladd and Macy Chiasson. So this fight was supposed to go down this past weekend, and it didn't. Apparently, Macy has stress fractures in her foot. I guess she figures they'll be healed in time for October. And then Gamebred FC number 2 goes down September 11th. That is the bare knuckle MMA. And they booked a strawweight bout between Maya Kahanaeli. I think I pronounced that properly, or at least I hope I didn't destroy it. Maya Kahanaeli taking on Isis Verbeek. Kahanaeli, previously known as Maida Stevenson, and Isis Verbeek. I believe this fight was scheduled to go down at the last Gamebred event, and it just didn't happen. It fell through, but we'll see. It's bare knuckle MMA. Let me see. PFL has booked a ladies bout for August 19th during the playoffs event. I guess this fight is at lightweight. Caitlin Yun taking on the debuting Marina Moknatkina. So Moknatkina asked for her release from Bellator and went straight over to PFL. Very interesting. I mean, you're talking about a girl who had several fights at bantamweight and then moved up to featherweight for all of 2 fights for Bellator, and now she's moving to PFL where she's going to be at lightweight, taking on a very experienced veteran in Caitlin Young. Already did that one. And then, Invicta FC 44, a new era has been announced for August 27th on pay-per-view. We're going to be talking a little bit about that later, but I did do a full introduction to all of the fighters and the fights in a separate video. If you haven't checked that out yet, you can go check that out later. Then UFC has a fight night booked for September 18th. They booked a strawweight bout between Emily Whitmire and Corey McKenna. No, I'll admit that doesn't really appeal to me. Whitmire just hasn't been able to put it together. McKenna, I think this is going to be a layup fight for McKenna, honestly. And then, what is this? Something multi-ladies fights UFC. Oh, VFC, Valor Fighting Championship, has their 87th event going down on September 3rd with multiple ladies fights planned, but nothing announced yet. So that is it for the news. Let's go check out some more comments. Leon says, I thought Holly was doing well in a fight with Amanda. She just got caught real bad. It was a good fight up until then, but I mean, Amanda, I wouldn't say she got caught. I think Amanda just set her up really good. The Brother Man asks, also, what can the UFC to save the bantamweight featherweight division? So I think the bantamweight division is getting moving. I think Aspen Ladd returning is really good for the division, and then Miesha Tate has just gotten so much conversation going already for the bantamweight division. So I don't think bantamweight needs saved, and I don't think featherweight is worth saving. That's messed up Invicta on pay-per-view. They got to make money somehow. Anthem just bought them they paid a bunch of money. They got to get some of that money back. We'll talk about it at the end here. So let's move on into the rankings discussion. So UFC rankings updates first up. At flyweight, Macy Barber moved up 1 spot from 14 to 13, moving Miranda Maverick down from 14 to 13. Makes sense. I mean, you can agree or disagree with the decision in that fight, but what matters is at the end of the day, Barber got her hand raised, so she moves up 1 spot, Maverick moves down 1. It's only logical. And then up at bantamweight, Sajara Eubanks got removed from the bantamweight rankings because she moved down to flyweight, allowing Julia Avila and Carol Hosa to move up 1 spot each. Avila moved from 14 to 13. Hosa moved from 15 to 14. And then Alexis Davis, who was previously unranked, is now in at number 15. So it's hard to disagree with any of these rankings updates. No Bellator updates for this week because they didn't have an event last week. They do have one tomorrow, though. Sean Rockwell says, bantamweight division needs a southpaw outlaw. I would not complain if they signed Serena De Jesus. She actually just has a fight booked, I believe. I can't remember against who. We'll see if it's on Tapology real quick. But I remember seeing somewhere that she just agreed. So Serena is stepping in against Lauren Mueller at Invicta 44. That was supposed to be Lauren Mueller versus Monica Franco. And then like right after I published my video on that event, it got announced that it was going to be Serena De Jesus stepping in for her. So we'll actually see her back at Invicta. GDV on a budget. I feel you. I definitely feel you. Just dominated the UFC veteran, about to do it again, says Sean. Talking about Serena De Jesus. Well, she just beat up. She just beat. What's her face? Yeah, Liz Phillips. I was like, what? Phillips, like. Oh, it's 2 straight for Jess Phillips. Okay. Looks like she actually did pick up a couple wins. But, yeah, Liz Phillips has not been doing good the last few years. Which, sorry to see. Leon says, do you think Bellator will do a women's Grand Prix? In which division would you find most interesting? Well, if they're going to do it, they're going to do it in flyweight. But I don't – I mean, there have been talks about it. But I don't think they'll be doing it anytime soon now. Not after COVID hit. I think they had plans or they had been talking about it, but I think once COVID hit, the plans just got thrown off. So anyway, let's get into the weekend preview. So first up, early tomorrow morning over in South Korea, Angels Heroes number 3, which is run by Angels Fighting, and it's like their beginners event. It's like a showbox type of event. Has one ladies bout at strawweight. In Young Chae taking on Nam Hee Kim. Nam Hee Kim fought once for one championship. Don't really have too many stats on this one. Chae is 1-1. Kim is, I believe, 2-1-1. Kim on the right-hand side there is 23 years old. Chae is 19. And that's all I can really tell you. Tapology doesn't even have this event listed right now. So not even 100% sure that it's going to happen. But I put it on there anyway. And then Bellator 260 goes down tomorrow from Los Angeles. So their first time away from, what do you call it? Mohegan Sun in Connecticut in a while. They added a flyweight bout. Vanessa Porto taking on Ilara Arya Stark Joanny. Battle of Brazilians here. Let's see. Porto coming in 22-9. Excuse me. Joanny coming in at 9-5. Porto, both fighters are coming in off a loss. Porto to Liz Carmouche via decision 3 months ago. Joanny a year and a half ago to Kana Watanabe. Wow, that was like all the way back when they had the Japan show. 10-year age difference here. 37 for Porto, 27 for Joanny. Looks like they're the same height, 5'3", 160 centimeters. Slight reach for Porto, 65 inches, 165 centimeters to 64 inches, 163 centimeters for Ilara Joanny. Honestly, I think this is Vanessa Porto's fight to lose here. She's just way more experienced, more well-rounded. I mean, Joanny's tough, and, you know, she's more, I want to say like more energetic, I guess you could say, in her fights. But I just think, honestly, that this is Vanessa Porto's fight to lose. And if she wins, she should get ranked and start moving her way up the Bellator rankings. But she's got to hurry up and do it because she's already 37. Although I think Liz Carmouche is like 38. So, but yeah, I'm picking the former Invicta champ Vanessa Porto to win this one. So then we move to UFC Fight Night Hall versus Strickland. Now, we were supposed to have the bantamweight bout between Nico Montano and Wu Yanan. Montano missed weight by, what, 7 pounds? Something like that. She came in at like 142, 143. So Montano's days in the UFC are probably numbered. And that fight, of course, is canceled. So, moving along, we have a strawweight bout between Ashley Yoder and Jinyu Fry. Fry on the right-hand side there, Yoder on the left. Yoder coming in at 8-7. Fry coming in at 10-6. Let's see. Yoder's coming in off of a loss, preceded by a win, coming off the loss to Angela Hill via decision 4 months ago in a largely pointless rematch. Jin coming off her first UFC win over Gloria DePaula 4 months ago, preceded by 2 straight losses. Let's see. Jin is the elder fighter, 36-33 for Yoder. Yoder will be the taller fighter, 5'7", 170 centimeters to 5'3", 160 centimeters for Fry. That advantage carries over to the reach as well. 69.5-inch reach, 177 centimeters for Yoder. 65-inch, 165 centimeters for Fry. I largely feel that on the feet, I think Yoder can take this. She's way more of an active fighter on the feet than Jinyu Fry is. Jinyu Fry, she has some good technical boxing, good technical puncher, and she hits kind of hard, or at least she hit hard at atom weight, but she just does not throw enough volume, and it's very easy for a high volume fighter to outscore her on the feet because, you might land some good hard punches, but if it's not enough to, go past the volume, then the volume's going to win. But if your punches are hard enough that they're going to, offset the volume, then you can take it. But I think Jinyu Fry's best bet is to actually take this to the ground. Now, Yoder is very fast and scramble. She's very scrambly. But she tends to put herself in a lot of trouble spots on the ground. And she loves to try to take the back, and then she ends up way too high and falling over and putting herself in trouble. So if it stays on the feet, I pick Yoder. If it goes to the ground, I pick Fry. Neither fighter can afford to lose here. I'm going with Ashley Yoder, but honestly, I could see this fight going either way. And then on the main card, and why is this fight on the main card? I don't know why. I have some ideas why, but Gloria DePaula taking on Cheyenne Bays. Glorinia coming in at 5-3. The Warrior Princess Bays coming in at 5-2. Both fighters coming off of losses in their UFC debuts. DePaula to Jinyu Fry 4 months ago. Bays to Montserrat Ruiz about 4 months ago. They are the same age at 26. Let's see. DePaula is the taller fighter, 5'5", 165 centimeters. To Bays is 5'3", 160 centimeters. DePaula has a nice reach advantage as well. 67.5-inch, 171 centimeters. To Bays is 63 inches, 160 centimeters. Yeah, again, why are two people coming off of losses in the UFC debut on the main card? Possibly because they're attractive. They're certainly not bad looking. So that helps. That definitely helps their case. But also, I think the real reason why is that they're both Contender Series fighters, and the UFC just wants to push those Contender Series fighters because they're already known from the Contender Series. As far as the fight goes, I think Bays is okay on the feet. She's more of a wrestler, though. DePaula, from what we've seen of her so far from her Contender Series fight and then her debut, she seems to be well-rounded everywhere except when she's put on her back. She just performed absolutely terribly when she got put on her back by Jinyu Fry. She does not want to get taken down by Cheyenne Bays. That's for darn sure. But I think she's actually the better striker on the feet, and she looks to have a decent takedown game and good top game as well. I'm picking Cheyenne Bays just because DePaula performing that badly against the smaller Jinyu Fry and just being that helpless off her back does not give me confidence for her to beat Cheyenne Bays' wrestling. So that's it for this weekend preview. As a quick little preview. Let's see. Blue Dash says, we got to the Nico Montano part. Missing weight by 7 pounds is extremely unprofessional. It wasn't a short notice fight. It was not. And you're right. It's unprofessional. We'll see. Feel bad for Wu Yanan. Yeah, so I'm trying to find out if Wu Yanan at least got her show money because she weighed in successfully. If not, she's getting screwed over doubly. Blue Dash says, I like Yoder in this fight just due to her size. I think she could hold Fry on the ground. She could. She's really not a very top-heavy fighter, though. And she's sloppy, too. Judy says, I can't understand why fighters miss weight when they know they have a fight on the roster. The period, the monthly menstrual cycle is a big indicator of why fighters miss weight. The travel, I mean, flying, depending on, if their flight arrives late or not, can cause you to hold water. A lot of reasons why fighters can miss weight, but a lot of it is just due to, I think, trying to cut entirely too much weight in a short amount of time is usually what it really is. Blue Dash says DePaula versus Bays is a weird fight. DePaula is probably the better striker, and maybe Bays is a better wrestler. I'd agree with that. He also says either way shouldn't be on the main card, and I agree with that as well. So let's get down into some discussion topics. First up, unfortunately, due to COVID reasons, Amanda Nunes is versus Juliana Pena is off. Of UFC 265. Just really sucks. Let me find the article I was looking at for. Okay. According to MMAJunkie.com, Amanda Nunes positive COVID-19 test scraps UFC 265 title defense. It says that Nunes forced to withdraw after testing positive for the COOF. The bout is expected to be rescheduled possibly for December. Let's see. Nunes' wife, Nina, told MMA Junkie that all 3 members of their household, including their infant daughter, Reagan, tested positive for COVID-19. She did not reveal whether they are dealing with severe symptoms, but it was enough to keep Nunes from competing in what would have been her second fight of 2021 after defending her women's featherweight belt against Megan Anderson at UFC 259 in March. Nunes did release a statement. It says, we're more than ready for the fight. Unfortunately, stuff happens. Stay tuned for a new date. It's just really unfortunate. It happens. I mean, been dealing with it for over a year now. And I see a lot of people saying should have gotten the vaccine, but guess what? People that got the vaccine are still getting sick anyway. Allegedly, according to the CDC, I got to be careful what I say. According to the CDC, people that are getting it are still saying that they're testing positive. So, I mean, it happens. Judy V doesn't buy the period excuse. And also says, according to Judy V, the public says kids don't get COVID. I think a certain age don't. I'm not even going to really talk about it because I don't want to get this taken off. But yeah, so Nunes versus Pena off due to Nunes testing positive for it. It sucks, but hopefully they get it done before the end of the year. And hopefully, Nunes isn't dealing with severe symptoms or doesn't get like the long form of it, which seems to be affecting fighters and athletes just long after the symptoms are gone. Moving along, One Empower is back on. It's going to go down September 3rd. South China Morning Post was the first to break the news. They broke it like late last night, early this morning. says one championship. Ty Kitten Grace Cleveland joins the Atomweight Grand Prix and Power Card gets new date. It says one championship's postponed all-female Empower event featuring the first round of the long-awaited Atomweight Grand Prix will take place on September 3rd, the Post understands. The event was originally scheduled for May 28th in Singapore, but was delayed because of government concerns over a rise in COVID-19 cases. The Asian Martial Arts Organization returns to action in its home city on Friday night for one battleground behind closed doors at the Singapore Indoor Stadium. One change has been made to the previously announced tournament brackets with American newcomer Grace Ty Kitten Cleveland 5-0 to face Munbo of China. There's Grace Cleveland right there next to Munbo. It says the 27-year-old Cleveland, who was born in Thailand and raised in Cleveland, Ohio, arrives in one on the back of 3 wins in Southern California promotion King of the Cage. This says it's the third change of opponent. It's actually the second change of opponent for 25-year-old Mung, who was originally scheduled to face Ritu Phogat when the brackets were first announced in April. It says the Indian Tigress 4-1 was replaced by Brazil's Julie Meza Barba. However, after losing a split decision to B. Nguyen at One Dangle, which was broadcast in May. The rest of the tournament matchups remain intact. South Korea's Hamsa Hee faces number 1 ranked Denise Sambalanga of the Philippines. Elise Anderson of the U.S. takes on Japan's Itsuki Hirata, and Stamp Fairtex battles Ukraine's Aliana Rasohina in a rematch. It says French kickboxer Anissa Mexen also has a new opponent and will face fellow debutante Cristina Morales of Spain instead of Martine Micheletto. The main event of Empower is still on, with strawweight champion Xiong Jingnan of China defending against Brazil's Michelle Nicolini. The Atomweight Grand Prix has been beset by delays since it was first announced last October by one CEO and chairman, Chatri Sityoton, after champion Angela Lee revealed she was 11 weeks pregnant. The tournament was targeted to start by early 2021 and finish by late September, with the winner getting a title shot against Unstoppable Lee in November. But negotiations in signing American Anderson from Invicta FC dragged on, and the lineup was not officially confirmed until March, with one putting the tournament back until May so as not to clash with a series of shows on U.S. primetime television network TNT in April. It says Lee returned to training last month after giving birth in April to her first kid with her husband. Who cares? She is now likely to be back in 2022. So the two big changes to this card. I like that they kept the card intact. I really like that. I mean, so it's still going to be the first all-female event for one championship. Just 2 changes to the lineup and a change in date. So we still get the main event, Sion versus Nicolini, which I'm really looking forward to. For the most part, most of the bracket in the one Atomweight Grand Prix stays the same. It's just that instead of that Julie Meza Barber girl from Brazil, for whatever reason she's out, and they brought in Grace Cleveland. So let me pull up Grace Cleveland's record here real quick. She's actually was, I would say, like a couple years ago, I had actually said that she was a promising prospect, but she had like serious neck injury or something requiring surgery. And then she ended up having a kid like earlier this year too. So I think she actually had her kid more recently than Angela Lee, and she'll be getting back into the cage more recently than Angela Lee. So Cleveland made her debut back in 2016, won 3 straight through 2017. Then I think that's when she got injured. Took about in March of 2019, picked that up via split decision in King of the Cage, and then last fought in February of last year, picking up a win over Angela Danzig via split decision. So she's had a lot of very close fights at atomweight. Yeah, they've all been at legit atomweight. So, I mean, big step up for her taking on Munbo. especially coming off of having a kid. But overall, not the worst addition they could have had. I don't know why they just didn't bring in B. Nguyen. I mean, I wasn't against B. Nguyen not being in there at first, but it's like, okay, you brought in one replacement for Ritu instead of B, who B just beat Ritu. But it's like, so now you got to bring another replacement. Why this time? I think they should have brought in B. Nguyen. But no complaints about bringing in Grace Cleveland. Like I said, I thought she was very promising, but a lot of inactivity the last several years. And then the rest of the tournament stays the same. Stamp versus Rasohina 2 should be a really banger card or fight. Itsuki Arata versus Elise Anderson should be really good. And then, of course, Sahi Ham versus Denise Zamboanga is the one I'm most looking forward to in the quarterfinals. And then I don't really watch a lot of kickboxing. I have seen Anissa Mexon fight before. She's very good. I mean, just very good. Don't know anything about her opponent. I saw someone on Sherdog mention, that her original opponent, that Micheletto girl, would have been a better opponent. Not that this Morales girl is bad, but just I guess the original opponent was better. So really glad that One Empower is back on. Really excited for this. I already did 3 fight previews for the quarterfinals. I still got to do the 4th one for Munbo. I'm glad I never did it because, I mean, it's already changed twice, her opponent. But if you haven't seen them yet, go check out my previews for Ham versus Zamboanga, Hirata versus Anderson, and Rasohina versus Stamp. And then I got to do one for Sion versus Nicolini as well. I think that fight's going to be really good. Like, everyone's making a big deal about the Grand Prix. And I think a lot of people are really sleeping on Seong Jin-nan versus Michelle Nicolini. And I'm telling you guys, do not sleep on this main event. It is going to be a good one. Let's see. Blue Dash says, interesting that Munbo got a new opponent again and Grace Cleveland. What happened to the other replacement? No idea. I haven't seen anything about it. Why? Judy V says, Empower is on with the smiley face. I know those feelings. Zazakita, hey, welcome to the scene, Zazakita. I think you're new. Scary avatar there. Pretty cool. Says, Ritu lost. That's why they kicked her out the tournament. True. Blue Dash is talking about the Brazilian fighter, Julie Meza Barba. Zazakita says, don't think it really matters since Munbo should be the favorite in either matchup. Oh, well. Yeah, I agree. Blue Dash says, Munbo's ground game is not the best as shown in Santos' fight. It's curious to see her fighting BJJ fighter. And the brother man asks, is one going to have full crowd on September 3rd? I doubt it. They were supposed to originally have like maybe 150 or to 200 people for Battleground this weekend and ended up being an empty crowd. Singapore is just not letting up on their protocols for the you-know-what. So One Empower is back on. Really excited about it. And then finally, let's talk about Invicta 44 being on pay-per-view. I've seen a lot of people that are just not happy with this decision. So when One Championship first came out, they actually tried to do, online pay-per-views, and it just did not work out. The servers crashed. They tried doing it on Ustream. Ustream could not handle the traffic. The traffic was like more than they'd ever seen before, I guess, for a paid event. I remember one time they actually had to refund everybody. So they tried several different outlets, and then they finally went to Fight Pass. And then they've been with Fight Pass up until this year. So now they're trying to go back to a mix. They're doing a mix because when they announced they had been bought by Anthem, Anthem said that they were going to do a mix of the Invicta on Axis shows the Phoenix tournaments, and then the numbered events. Or they said several. They refer to them as tentpole pay-per-view events a year. So I guess this is the first of what they're describing as a tentpole event. Whether you agree if this is a tentpole worthy, an event worthy of the tentpole name or not, is up to you. Let me pull up the event real quick here. So the big question is this a pay-per-view worthy event? I have mixed feelings about it personally. So you're starting off with a couple of debutantes, and that's fine. Invicta has had debutantes throughout their existence fighting. Katie Saul versus Monique Adriani is all right. Salmons versus Peralta, some prospects. DeJesus versus Mueller. Mueller's a UFC veteran. This event actually has 1, 2, 3, 4 UFC veterans, a former Bellator veteran / former Bellator title challenger, and it has 2 title fights. I don't see this as. I mean, we could have definitely gotten a worse card for pay-per-view. Could we have gotten a better card? Sure. I mean, why these 2 championships? Both of them are vacant. Why not, why did they do the atomweight championship between Zappatella versus Del Boni back in, what was that, May? Why not wait to do that fight for the pay-per-view? That way, at least you have one championship that has a sitting, reigning defending champion, defending her title. I think that would have been a better one for this one than probably either of these 2 title fights. But I like the title fights. Lisa Verzosa versus Tanisha Tennant should be a good fight. Ducote versus Taylor should be, well, I have mixed feelings about that one. But was this the worst event they could have done for pay-per-view? Heck no. Is it the best? It's not that either. It's okay. $20. Is it worth $20 in the US? For me personally, I'm at a stage where, I mean, I've spent the last year and a half saving up money, and I mean, I spend $70 a month on UFC every month. So an extra 20 for me isn't going to kill me. For me, it's more about time value now. So, I mean, I watch Invicta anyway. So it's not, for me, it's less about the money than, it's less about the money than it is about the time, I should say. Which I certainly don't mind spending my Friday nights watching Invicta. One thing that bothers me is I see a lot of people that claim to be like hardcore women's MMA fans and hardcore Invicta fans or whatever. And they're like, oh, I'm not paying for this pay-per-view. What? I'm not paying for that. And complaining and saying, oh, their old cards were way better and now they're moving to pay-per-view. It's like, well, they're not moving to pay-per-view all the time. And second of all, let's not pretend like their old cards were just absolutely filled with top-tier talent. Because let's go back to what was my first Invicta event. I believe it was number 3, Penny versus Sugiyama. So that had the first championship. I believe that was my first event. Yeah. So I paid money for this one. I think this one might have gotten refunded. I can't remember. But like it had a couple of debutantes facing each other in Tisha Torres versus Kiana Rain. Nobody really knew who these fighters were when they debuted. It had Jessamine Duke versus Marcia Allen. Those 2 fighters weren't anybody special at the time. Stephanie Frauser versus Amy Davis. Nothing special at the time, and Neither of them have really done a whole lot since. Joanne Calderwood versus Ashley Cummins. Prospect fight there. Carla Esparza versus Lynn Alvarez. That was a decent name. Julia Budd was a Strikeforce veteran at the time. Michelle Watterson made her return, so okay. Kat Zingano versus Pennington. Pennington was relatively unknown at the time, and Zingano was known from Strikeforce. And it had Porto versus La Rosa, Barb Honchak versus Ashling Daly, Leslie Smith versus Caitlin Young. So this card was very top-heavy. Let's look at number 4. Had the first strawweight championship, Carla Esparza versus Beck Rawlings. She was Beck Hyatt at the time. And this was very top-heavy too. But again, this is a pay-per-view card that had a lot of fighters on the bottom end that weren't that big a deal at the time. Laura Sanko made her pro debut at the time against Cassie Robb, and then she retired, of course. Tisha Torres had her second fight against Paige Van Zandt. Again, neither of those two are big names now, relatively big names, but they weren't anything special at the time. So, yeah. Invicta's no stranger to pay-per-view. And I just hate when hardcore fans are like, oh, I'm not paying pay-per-view. It's like, sorry, listen, if you don't have the money for it, just say you don't have the money for it. I understand. You know, back when Invicta first came out, I was broke. I was working at freaking, what year was that? 2013? I was at Walmart at the time. So I get it. I get being broke. But don't act like, oh, this ain't worthy of pay-per-view. It's like, then stop acting like you're such a hardcore fan. Because God forbid you actually have to step up and prove your fandom by throwing down a few bucks on a card every few months. I really hate that about MMA fans. It's like, oh, they want to act like they're big fans. But then as soon as it comes time to actually like put up or shut up time, it's like everyone's like, ooh, I'm not paying money for MMA. Pay money for MMA. It's like, that makes me just so angry. So, like Judy said, she's on a budget. I get it. I understand that people are on a budget. But if you're not on a budget and you're not willing to help support, you know, the premier women's mixed martial arts organization, then are you really a WMMA fan? I mean, look, you don't want to stay up till, 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. for Deep Jewels and pay $25. I get it, because you got to stay up late. I do it because I'm crazy like that. But Invicta is pretty much everybody that watches this channel. Most of them vast majority are in the U.S. So don't be afraid to slap down $20 for Invicta. I mean, like I said for Octagon last week, and I said it on the video when I broke down this card, and I'll say it again. Skip going to McDonald's or Starbucks or whatever you do that is a routine that you spend a decent amount of money on during the week, okay? Don't do it for a couple weeks. Make coffee at home instead of going to Starbucks. Pack a lunch instead of going to McDonald's or Burger King, Wendy's, Sheetz. If you don't know what Sheetz is, that's okay, but I love Sheetz. Take a lunch or go somewhere cheaper like a deli or something and save up enough money and help support Invicta FC. That's the end of my rant, I guess. Anyway, we've gone on for just shy of an hour. That's really all I want to talk about. Anybody have any comments or gripes, complaints before I finish? Zazakita says, weird they didn't bring in B. Nguyen unless the execs of one didn't think B. Nguyen actually won. I remember the fight was controversial. So, yeah, that was a controversial decision. I ended up doing a stream talking about it and going over why the judges probably went for B. Nguyen. that's actually a good reason why they might not have gone with B. I have heard rumors though that B is going to be on one of the other two. What they call them? Unbreakable? No, Battleground shows, which means she would have fought today, and then it's like the next two Battleground shows are going to be pre-recorded. So, but I believe Empower, at least according to the graphic, says it's going to be watched live. So we'll have to see. But yeah, we'll see if it's live or not. I hope it's live. I mean, I don't mind watching the one shows that are on tape delayed because at least there's nobody's like really spoiling the results. So it's not like, oh, I already know who won, so it doesn't matter. I mean, One Championship is actually been doing a really good job of keeping the results under wraps. A couple fights have been spoiled, but we're talking like one or two out of how many shows they've done on tape delay since last year. So I don't mind it, but for some reason I just really want this card to be live, and I hope it is. But as far as I know, it's going to be live. I plan on taking a day off for it because it's going to be on early in the morning. Probably end up doing a companion stream. We'll see. But anyway, that's all I really have. Let's see here. So if you haven't yet, please take the time to hit the like button. Judy V says, great chat till the next night. Yeah, I'm going to say good night too. So like I said, if you haven't yet, please hit the like button. If you're watching it on playback, let me know your thoughts on anything discussed in the comments below. And while you're at it, if you haven't yet, I mean, honestly, what are you waiting for by now? To subscribe to WMMA Now, the most complete women's mixed martial arts dedicated platform on YouTube. So thanks for watching, everyone, and we'll see you probably Sunday night for a weekend review.